everyone, welcome back, and in this video I'll be giving you some information on the decoy effect, which is a concept in behavioral science. It's a pretty interesting concept, and you would get to see how interesting it becomes when you know how it's being used in several industries and several domains, and especially in this video we'll see how it's used in the product management phase. So without any delay, let's get into it. So what is this decoy effect? So before going into the definition of it, let's take the example, something that we can all relate to. So we know that when we go to theaters or places, we have these popcorn packages, which is of different sizes, small, medium and large. So initially when you look at this, the pricings, it has certain pricings, which is $4, $6 and $7 respectively. Now when you are hungry, okay, and you want to buy popcorn, you ask people, you might choose either the small, medium or large. But what happens if you see in the second example, there is a slight change in the medium price, which is $6.5. So it's increased by $0.5. When this increase or when this modification happens, okay, when this modification of a particular option happens, when a research was taken and when they did this experiment, the people who were actually opting initially for medium opted in the second time for large after this particular price change. By now you might be knowing what happens. So there was something introduced where there was some change in the price, and that change in price caused a behavioral change in people in a way that they took decisions. So initially when their decision was a medium, the second time with this change in price, it moved from medium to large. And this element, this option that gets modified or introduced is called as a decoy. So now let us go to the definition and see what is this decoy. So the decoy effect describes how the addition or modification of a third, less attractive option, which is the decoy, can influence our perspective of the original two choices when deciding. And that's what we see. How the introduction of this decoy influenced the people's decision making of choosing another option when compared to the initial option that they wanted to select. Another interesting fact about this decoy is that decoys are asymmetrically dominated. Okay, so a decoy must be asymmetrically dominated by the target and the competitor with respect to at least two properties. So little confusing, right? So let's break it down. So let's first try to understand what is this target and competitor. By now we know what is the decoy. So let us take the same popcorn example, and over here the large popcorn is called as the target. Why? Because the target is the option what the businesses want you to choose. So that's why they call it as the target. Any business would be happy when you choose a large popcorn, because the more large popcorn sold, the more profit. And the competitor is the small popcorn, which is the option competing with the target. So we know that the center medium is a decoy. So the other option would be the target, which is small. And this competes with the large. And if you see the middle one, which is a decoy, this option nudges you towards the target. So we all seen how it nudges people to the target, right? In one way. But we can get to know that more clearer. So I know by now you might be knowing what is the target and competitor and decoy. So let's see the second definition with respect to at least two properties. So what are these properties? So every option that you are given with, the option would have certain factors based on which you decide. It would have certain properties. So take a second to maybe think what could be the properties of this popcorn. You might have rightly guessed it. its quantity and cost. Okay, so if you see here for the competitor, which is small, which is $4, the quantity is less and the cost is cheap. Okay, go to the decoy. When we go to the decoy, the quantity is more than small, which is super beneficial for the consumer because we're getting more. But on the flip side, the cost is costlier than small. Okay, now something to think about. I'm getting more, which is like I'm happy to get more, but I need to spend a little more, which is something to think about. And that's a little bit of a fuzzy factor. When we look at the target, if you see the quantity over there, more than medium, well, I'm happy. Cost, slightly more than medium. So you need to look at this word slightly more. When it's actually slightly more, human behavior is it like, okay, maybe it might be worth it. And if it's going to be slightly more, then I think it's no deal of going with that option. That's what we usually think. So in this way, if you see, the decoy is in a way nudging people from the the existing opinion they have to push towards the target. So in this way, people are okay because there's a little slightly extra cost that's involved, but they get more and they are okay with extra cost. So obviously they are going to go towards the target, which is a large popcorn. And that's what is asymmetrically dominated. So it deals with factors, and with that, the decoy must asymmetrically be dominated by the target and the competitor with respect to at least two properties. So that's what we have seen. So when you look at what happened with this introduction of decoy to the popcorn, you see that initially people who purchased a small, okay, were kind of more people, because when they compared small, medium, large, they were like, okay, let's go for small. But that's okay. The amount of large that got purchased was comparatively less. But when the medium, the decoy was introduced, okay, the medium was always there, but there was an alteration in the price. When this was introduced, large went up and the small was little bit, maybe it would have been the same amount, maybe it reduced because there was a dilemma between small, medium, but then they found medium was little more like lesser than cost the large one, so they would have gone with the large. So you see how people kind of jump from their options when making decisions because of some alteration in some option. That's what happened. So if you look at the decoy effect use cases, it's used like in number of places, okay? But we are going to look at mainly in the product side. So one example is the product subscriptions and pricing, mainly the economic subscription. So this was like a magazine kind of a thing where they had like two subscriptions. One is the web, which is for $59, and digital for $129. So initially when students were asked to select these two, between these two subscriptions, if you see, the web got 68 votes and digital got 32 subscriptions. So what happened was they introduced another subscription, which is print, which was $129, same as that of digital plus print, which was also $129. So the print subscription was actually a decoy over here. Now when people had to make a decision whether it's print or digital plus print, by now you might be knowing no one would have gone in for print, because why do I need print when I have for the same amount digital plus print? So that was really an unnecessary, unattractive, and totally non-useful subscription. And when just by introducing this something that's really non-useful, non-beneficial, if you see the subscriptions, web had 16, print was 0. We all know why it's 0. But the digital plus print was 84. So indirectly, you see the web got reduced and digital got increased with the introduction of just this one decoy subscription. This is one example. The second example is Apple iPod. So you had 16 GB for $229. You have 34 GB for $299, which is basically extra $70. But you have a double storage, which is good, and you have more features, which is super good. But when you compare the 64 GB for $399 with the 16 GB for $229, it's Of course, it has an additional of $100, but you don't get extra features. So now, when a majority of people were asked to choose for subscription, we all know that most of them would have gone for 32 GB for $299. Most of the majority of people, where it was just $70 extra and they get more features. But many thought about whether 64 GB is necessary and with no features, whether that's something that's really needed for them. So indirectly, the 16 GB for 229 was a decoy, while the 64 GB for $399 was a decoy that nudged people to go in for the target, which was 32 GB for 299, which was really cost efficient and advantageous to the customers. Similarly to this, we can see it in other places like restaurants, how they use it when they create combo packs. You can see travel packages when they come out with their packages, they also use a decoy effect. Product pricings, these are all some of the examples where decoy effect is predominantly used. And some facts about the decoy is that the decoy effect can cause us to spend and consume more than we really need. So in the popcorn example, people who really couldn't consume a full large popcorn, they never bothered about it. But when they looked at the price, they went in for that option. So similarly to that, we buy so many products and we buy so many things, we opt in for some subscriptions and packages and stuff without thinking that do we really need so much? But in a way, by this effect, we spend and we tend to consume more than we really can. The second one is it's a kind of an ethical nudge that businesses use that causes changes in behavior during decision making. So we've seen it. But according to the businesses cannot kind of force you to or force anyone to go in for a particular plan or subscription or buy a particular product. But by making these changes, which we call the decoy effect, there is some behavioral changes in human beings, the way we think and the way we act and the way we make decisions. These changes is a thing that happens subconsciously where indirectly we are actually doing what they want or what they expect. So they have a target. By introducing the decoy effect, by making alterations in their subscriptions, in their pricing, in alterations and modifications, indirectly people are actually moving towards that target, but very invisibly. It's not very visible and noticeable. And the last one is decoys, they work subconsciously. So as I said, we don't like sit down and do like really rocket science calculations to see like which one is really beneficial or not. We make these decisions of okay, when you compare these two, this seems a little better. So it's more of like most of the time these decisions that happen, it's very subconscious and it doesn't happen like consciously to all of us. So that's about the decoy effect. They say that generally human beings, we make like decisions that are very rational and we think about a lot of things and do it, but we are very sometimes we make very irrational decisions, and that's just how we are prone to be. That's how we are, you know, we tend to be, and that's how we really work. So that's why they say the decoys, they work subconsciously. Okay, so I hope that you got some understanding on what this decoy effect was, and really interesting. I was interested when I heard about this, so I hope that you got some information. If you like this video, please do give this a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe to this channel, and also do share your feedbacks. Thank you.